And we saw the San Antonio Spurs absolutely manhandle the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. It is overreaction time. San Antonio pummeled Cleveland 103-74. The Cavs have now lost both meetings against the Spurs this season. Cleveland falls to 6-9 in March. Dylan, is it an overreaction to say the Spurs are the one team the Cavs do not want to see in the NBA Finals?
I feel like it's an overreaction because it's only 2 games, and they're just the Cavs don't look themselves right now. They're completely a shell of themselves, and they looked horrible tonight, especially defensively, but they didn't look much better offensively either. I think because it's only 2 games and the Spurs are really good, you feel like it's an overreaction. But I tell you, watching this game tonight, if today was any indication of how a 7-game series would go if these two were to meet in the finals, the Cavs don't have a chance. They just looked like they were a JV squad playing with, national champion varsity high school. It just was on a whole nother level. And I can't really decide if today was an indication of what would happen over the course of a 7-game series, or if it was just a bad night in the stretch of some bad play, some bad defense for the Cavs, a defensive low point in their season right now. And, they're just so out of rhythm. I'm gonna side towards it's an overreaction because I do trust LeBron. I do trust this team when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of the playoffs. And I look at it saying, I think they're just ready. They're ready to get to the playoffs. They might not get there with a 1 seed. It's for the first time since early November. They find themselves in that 2 spot in the Eastern Conference right now, with Boston leapfrogging them after Cleveland loses tonight. But I'll say it's an overreaction, but man, I'd be a little bit scared if the Western Conference playoff picture works out where it's the Spurs that are waiting there for them, and all of a sudden Cleveland gets back to the finals, wins the East yet again. It's hard. They're going to really have to dive into this tape because this was disgusting to watch. It was just night and day. You had a team executing so efficiently and getting done exactly what they wanted to do as far as their game plan on both sides of the court perfectly, and then a team that just looked like they didn't want to be there. So even though I'll say it's an overreaction, this is something that Lou, LeBron, and the Cavs have to fix.
Yeah, because when you look at the San Antonio Spurs, typically they're a team that does not beat themselves. They're a team that's going to take care of the basketball. As I check out the turnovers for the Spurs, they did have 12 turnovers tonight, but typically they're going to execute.
That's because the guys at the end of the bench played the last 10 minutes of the game.
That probably wasn't the real starters.
What is this? This is a basketball I don't usually play.
But when you get the Warriors, they are a team that can kind of be loose with the basketball. Steph Curry will make some ill-advised passes. You don't get that from San Antonio.
No.
So as much as they play defensively with Kawhi Leonard locking down, they have some big men that can patrol the paint. They're not going to beat themselves, and that makes them very tough to beat if they face off with the Cavs in the finals.
Yeah, and I wonder if that does make it a worse matchup for the Cavs. Obviously, the stat we just showed you, 0-2 against the Cavs, while they're 1-1 against the Warriors, would suggest that it's the Spurs that proved to be a tougher matchup for Cleveland. But I think when you do dive inside of it, and they are just they're so disciplined on both sides of the ball, that I do feel like it would probably be the toughest matchup of any Western Conference team for the Cavaliers if they had to go up against San Antonio. I mean, even with a different group of guys, a totally different group of guys, but still the same leader, when LeBron was in Miami, we saw, he easily could have lost both of those finals they played against the Spurs, losing one, winning one. But we remember what happened in Game 6 of the series they wound up winning. So it's a tough matchup when LeBron goes up against this team because Kawhi is such a good defender, and their whole defensive scheme kind of gets Cleveland out of rhythm. And like you said, offensively, they're not a team that gives you any rope. They don't give you anything, and that's something that really proved difficult for Cleveland tonight. It was so bad, CT, that it was like the 7-minute mark or maybe 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter. LeBron's got up on the bench and went to the locker room.
It's like, I've seen enough.
Yeah, treatment, whatever the hell. He was like, I can't watch it. I don't want to be here. I'm embarrassed. They kept showing him. They kept showing him with the towel over his head, sulking. He was like, man, if they get that camera on me one more time, I'm going to the locker room. One more time he comes on, he's like, all right, let's go. I'm going back.
29-point victory for the San Antonio Spurs. They absolutely destroyed the Cavs in this game.